So look how clean this thing is. This is a stock as they come. Now, a lot of people don't realize we've been around a long time. Opened LHT in 1996. So we worked on a lot of these. I remember these cars coming out. They all came in for Jackson Superchargers, came in for Gretty turbo kits. Did a lot of Type R bottom ends, a lot of Type R internals, that kind of thing. A lot of converting to a 1.8 without giving up too much. But this, we're doing a Jackson Racing Supercharger and of course the Honda system. But he wants it to look as stock as can be. And now we're opening the hood and looking at it. I kind of agree. It's like an OEM plus build, I would say we're going to do. Just a little bit more power without really changing it too much. I kind of like the idea of keeping that airbox. Now we see it. Maybe we'll make a different arm to go from the airbox to the throttle body. So that will keep that OEM look. And of course, most of this will make it so it's removable and replaceable. If it does put it back to stock, everything unbolts and bolts back together. Another nice thing about that Jackson Supercharger is it's a full bolt-on kit. All right, so laying some of his parts out right here. This is the Supercharger itself. This is the manifold. He has a few pulleys with it. This is the pulley for the snout of the blower. This is the factory size, the 4.2. These don't have size on. We'll measure them later. This is the alternator bracket. This obviously moves the alternator and allows room for the double pulley system. How it works is the belt comes from the crank to the alternator, then from the alternator to the supercharger. Well, there is a additional pulley right here is applied. This is known as a stepper pulley. How this works is this basically replaces the alternator pulley. The two pulleys right here, this one is the larger pulley, so the alternator, the belt comes from the crank to this one, and then this one drives the supercharger. This one being bigger than this overspins the supercharger. There's no name on this, so I don't know. I've done a lot of work with superchargers. A lot of people don't realize they watch the YouTube channel and they go, yeah, that guy does S2000s, and well, they don't realize since '96 I've been playing with Hondas and I've done a lot with the B series supercharger.
This is why I know what LHT is.
This guy?
Yep. When I started following LHT in 2000, I remember seeing these things and thinking, I've always loved blowers. That guy knows what he's doing with blowers, so he's the only one that can make them good.
So he said, you know what, I got to work at that place so I can get involved. And then what do we do? Switch to S2000s.
Yep.
So I did a lot with this. I'm not going to try and pat myself on the back because I can't reach it. I'm getting kind of old. But this over here, this obviously is an M62 for the B series. I did a lot of testing with this. I ran these to the full RPMs. I've had these things blow up. I've ran the RPMs to their extent where these rotors have collided and exploded these things. And I got on a first name basis with one of the rebuilders at Magnuson, because I used to send him these things and he used to tell me, I've seen a lot, but I've never seen people blow these things up like you do. What are you doing with it? I said, I'm spinning it way beyond its ability. So one of the things I did is come up with an intercooler solution. I made many intercoolers for this. I mean, it was one Saturday, I even tried just a quick makeshift. I drilled this, I put a fuel cooler in here, ran it through here, JB welded it in there, put it into an ice container, did some data logs, noticed I started getting cooler air temps. When I got cooler air temps, my air fuel leaned out, I picked up a little bit of power, I could add a little bit of timing. I knew I was onto something. Intercooling is a big thing for superchargers, so I kept experimenting with different intercoolers. I'm going to try and find an early picture of one of my very first intercoolers, the big one. But the intercooler, there's a variations, but the intercooler now has cores. It's in here, the cylindrical cores. The air comes around here. These chill down the air, gives us a cooler temp out here. One of the early air-to-airs I built is we cut a hole in this and had the supercharger go right through there, through a tube out the top, went out through an intercooler, and then put air back in the side and cooled it that way. It worked, but it wasn't efficient. Then I came up with another system where I had a Spearco core above here. It was a 4.5-inch core, and the air would basically come up through the intercooler, wrap around, and come back in here. Very complicated, big, ugly thing. but it worked and it made an improvement. So we're on our version 10 today. We call it version 3 of the air-to-air, but I've got a lot of time in intercooling, so I'll talk about that in another video. He has various extra new parts he's purchased. Some of these things are old and discontinued. Someone reproduces this. This is the original Jackson one. This is the replacement one that he's bought. Everything looks new. He's got miscellaneous new gaskets and pieces in here. So we're going to lay all this out, figure out what parts he's got, put all the best systems together. This is one of the old map controllers, which is basically to cheat the factory computer so it didn't see boost. We're not going to be using that. We're going to be changing it to the Honda. As I mentioned, that is close to the factory intermediate pulley there, the one that goes on the alternator. See, the sizes are the same. Alright, so looking underneath, he replaced the lower section here with the Type R lower section. He's got a test pipe right here. This all looks good here. It all fits here. This is the factory SI axle back. He has two mufflers. He wants to basically rebuild this back section so he can change it and see which one he wants to go with. He has a Mugen muffler and a Jrsc SP. So the hangers are there. We're going to basically put hangers on his mufflers and build this section right here to a flange so he can change it and see which one he wants. He wants a little bit more sound without being too loud and obnoxious. That is, so this this has been like super duper tightened. Wow, look at that. So we were both kind of pulling bets on this, going, okay, it's gonna snap any minute. This was like so over tightened. It finally broke loose, but it bent the bolt, and it's not rusty. It's just somebody else cranked that up with an impact. So this is the Mugen muffler right here. The hangers are being cut off, so we'll weld new hangers. This is the Jrsc SP. It has hangers, but don't know what they are off. They're completely wrong for this car. We're gonna build this one first so we can finish up with this one, because I think this is gonna be the one that we want it to leave with. It'll sound the best. So we'll build it for this first, put it on. It has obviously the proper points. We're just gonna put the rubber hangers back on. So we'll make it fit with that one. Alright, so cut those hangers off and sanded it, made the muffler look nice again. That way we have a nice fresh starting point, got rid of that ugly steel. Now, John 1996 would love this. I couldn't afford a Jrsc exhaust. A lot of people would roll around with Jrsc exhausts. I used to buy my own mufflers, my own piping, and make a John exhaust after hours because I wanted something on the car. This looks like we're gonna center this as best as we can, but it looks nice. I mean, it looks almost period correct. This is what was big in the day. You drove behind a Civic, you had a big shiny can over here. When you parked, you go over here, you saw Jrsc here. This was still quality stuff. Fortunately, most of Jrsc stuff isn't made in Japan anymore. Muffler is done, pipe is done. It connects, goes back on with the factory flange. He ordered an extra flange there. We're going to take it off. We got a little bit more hanger welding to do, but that looks good. Fits in that pocket really nice. Looks really cool. Alright, so I measured this. This is a 3.6, so it's not ideal. The smallest I like to go is a 3.8, but again, it's a B16, so we're not putting a ton of attention on it. The pulley I was going to change. For one, it's got some damage right here on the ribs. You can't really tell, but it's got a big flat spot there, and it might trash the belt. Alright, so Mugen muffler is on. This took a lot more time than expected. It's a big muffler to get in this hole. It's an upside down triangle, so up in the top here, it's very close to the frame rail, and then the angle that this comes out in the position, we're trying to get it over the sway bar so that when it's lowered, but now it's on, it looks good. It's again a large tip to fit in that cutout, so it has to be perfectly straight in there. If not, it'll look funny. I mean, as you move around, you see how much it changes. Well, if it's off just a little bit one way or another, it affects the way it looks because there's not a lot of room for error with that tip. We just removed the intake manifold, the whole thing. If you've never seen this kit before, you remove the whole intake manifold, and the supercharger and manifold are going to take up that space. The supercharger hangs below the manifold. Also, the alternator bracket has to be changed, so we're going to disconnect the battery, pull that alternator off, and I'll show you that bracket. But it relocates the alternator. It actually pulls it a little bit closer to the block and pulls it in, so we got room for that second pulley. So remove the pulley on your alternator, and you're going to replace it with the double pulley. What do we got? A couple of Tycon boxes.
It's got to be really light material. Thinking titanium. That would use. Yeah.
Could be right on there.
Yeah. And it's not fibercon, so I know it's not carbon fiber.
It's not absolutely super light.
Yeah, it's not unobtainium.
So this came with a broken bypass valve, which is very common. This is a vacuum actuated valve that opens and closes the butterfly in there. This allows the boost to bypass it. When the supercharger is spinning, it is creating positive pressure. You don't want it in the manifold all the time. So this opens and it bypasses. Well, this is pretty common to break on here. It's attached on here with plastic tabs that are just basically like they're melted over onto that bracket. Well, he has the replacement part right here, but be very careful with this. We used to do a lot of these manifolds, and people would ship it with this on. It would always get broken. Doesn't matter how well you box this guy breaks off. If you look at it funny or shout, it will break. It doesn't like it. So if you do ship as a manifold, remove this whole bypass valve with the 4 Allen bolts right here, and any of the fittings, any brass fittings, any vacuum fittings, this fit in here. This sometimes is a water fit-in or a plug on this one. Remove all this stuff, remove your studs, strip it down bare, make sure there's no paint on it. This has paint still on here. I'm going to go ahead and take this off because it has to come off anyway. I'm going to go ahead and clean this manifold a little bit better for him. Alright, so the alternator is installed in the bracket assembly. Now this is something I used to repair a lot of these back in the day. A lot of people used to install these kits and get the spacing wrong or put the bracket together wrong and have constant belt issues. Well, that little tab there that you see bolts from the alternator to the bracket. The spacing is critical there. They used to give you like hardened steel washers, but there's a, if you look in the instructions, if you can find it, there's a little bit of insight of how to measure that, but that's critical, and you measure it with whatever means you have, spacers, washers, whatever. You got to measure that gap and come up with that spacer to make it exact. All right, so a quick update. Supercharger is hanging there, manifold is on. The belt system, forgot to tell you, it is a little bit of a time-consuming thing. You got to put it together loose. You got to get the belt sizing right for the supercharger to the alternator, and then the alternator to the crank. And you want to make sure that you have adequate adjustments, so as the belt stretches you can tighten it a little bit. Bolts here is in the instructions if you can find them. It does recommend to put a dab of Loctite on these just so they don't vibrate loose. These plug the hole where the bolt is below it, so there is a bolt below there. That's why you Loctite that. Alright, so a couple of things. The throttle bracket, this is what came on it. It's a used, actually says P73, so it's a Type R throttle bracket that someone's just modified to fit here. Well, this is the Civic Si cable, so it's not, I mean, if it goes there, it's gonna rub that hose and cause a problem. So we're gonna remake that bracket so the cable is out here somewhere. Now, I'll talk about this on another supercharger video, but the best setup on a supercharger application is the GSR style throttle body. So the actual pulley here is pulling from a different angle. Rather than pulling from this direction, it pulls from this direction. So the pulley is in a different spot, and it has a bracket that bolts to these 2 threaded holes right here. So the throttle cable works a little bit better. It's at the correct angle, and also the throttle cable pulls this way, so it's a more gradual turn rather than being straight up and down. This will fit, it'll lean over. This is what he has. Now this might be coming in for upgrades again, depending on how this works. Obviously, more efficient would be one of our intercoolers, bigger throttle body, ported S-tube, obviously a little bit better flowing header. This will do okay, but optimum, you know, better flowing header. So also he wants to keep this OE look. We're going to keep the airbox and build, as you see, there's a silicone spacer on there. We're going to build a tube from it to the airbox to keep it, you know, as stock looking, OEM looking as possible. But again, down the road, if he does choose to do some more performance enhancements, we'll build a better intake here. Obviously a much larger, cooler air intake. Everything looks good. We did have to replace a few of the belts. A couple of belts that looked kind of sketchy. That's his weird coolant that he's using. Fluidless coolant. So, brackets on. We did make the elbow for that, waiting for it to paint. We're bleeding out the system, basically going over the whole setup, make sure everything is happy. Everything seems good. We'll make sure that's bled all the way. Air fuel ratio looks good. It's trimming like it should be. O2's happy. See what we're doing. Trims are happy. They're bouncing around. So we're good. Put that intake on. We're still going to change the fuel pump and we'll put it on the dyno. I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind you might want to do an upgrade, so we don't want to spend too much time making anything too elaborate. So just to give you an idea on the setup, we're running Honda S300. We're running 750 injectors. It's always better to run more injectors than you need. We'll never use 750s on this car, but it's better to have them and not use them as opposed to the other way around. It will probably be okay with a factory fuel pump, but just like we've mentioned in the past, nobody wants to spend time on a dyno and get 3/4 of the way through your tune to find out you run out of fuel, change the pump, and then completely retune it because the fuel pump is going to change your tune. So there it is. You remove the seat. There's your fuel pump access panel. You take this off, fuel pump is right under there. So much easier on the old cars. The new cars are now a pain in the rear. S2000s are not a lot of fun. We was just talking about it on George's car. Alright, so that took probably 15 minutes. That's the easiest fuel pump ever. What was your fuel pump took 15 minutes?
15 minutes in, we're still trying to get the seat up.
I was going to say 15 minutes you just try and figure out how the seat comes out. You're going to make sure it runs. There's one time we did a fuel pump in the middle of the night and the car didn't start. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
It still works.
Yeah, it was Jeff's car. It was right around Christmas time. It was like 1 o'clock. We forced him to start it, go for a drive in the fuel pump. It didn't work. It's already at 161.
Good figure?
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know.
Alright, so watch this number right here, IAT. We're going to do a run. It's already kind of high. We just did a run. Okay. Alright, stop. Alright, so slight change of plan. The pulley system didn't work out. One, it was boosting high. We had to bring it back and take off the stepper pulley and put the other one on. And it also broke those studs that came on that bracket, the replacement bracket, the Chinese bracket, the one that I wasn't feeling too good about. Yeah, they broke. So we had to pull the whole thing off, fix those, change that, put the other pulley back on because it's over boosting. And of course, we can't change the one on the blower because it feels like it's seized on. So round two, we're going to take it back, put it back on the dyno. All right, so smaller pulley. I'm going to keep an eye on this number right here. You're going to see how this jumps. Let me know when you're ready, George.
Right when you are.
All right, recording. Watch this number right here. See that? Now if you did another gear run, that was a third gear run. If you did a fourth and a fifth, this sucker would get to 230, 240 in a hurry. Ready? Okay. All right, 195 and 138 right now. Air fuel's on the safe side. I'm going to put a little fuel in right here. I want to run about 11.8, 11.7 stock compression. Intake air is through the roof. It's hot in here today. I don't even want to touch this manifold right now. It is, that manifold is so hot I can't touch it. So I don't want to go crazy and run it too lean, but we'll straighten out the air fuel and do another run. All right, with a quick cool down. Just basically letting it sit it's 142. So let me start record this run. I'll get an outside perspective and we'll record it. I'll show you what it goes to. All right, go. Like a 10-minute cool down, 197, and that is about all it's going to do. I just kind of blended the air fuel. I didn't want to pull any more fuel out of it. We want to put as much safety reserve in there as we can if we do get a cooler day. So 12.6, 12, so we had 139 air temp right here at 2900. See the boost, see how quick the boost jumps, 5.7. And then as we build, IAT starts climbing, 150, 170. Again, this is a 1 gear run, 180. If you used to do 2 runs back to back or even 3 gears, nothing would climb quick. I'm still running the factory airbox with the tube we made. I'm going to lift this lid here just to get a perspective. It's basically going to be an open run right here, just with an open tube, because intakes do really weight these things up. So let's kind of get an idea of what that will do. Like I say, this might be a candidate for an LHT intercooler and a better intake and maybe a header. A few other things will make some power on this, but let's get basically an idea on the intake. All right, Bruce, you can stay. 200 on the dot.
Yeah, look at your flat and right at 200.
So lifting that lid made 3 horsepower. So we're good. We went from 197 to 200, just lifting the lid.
Did you hear it too?
Yeah.
It actually makes lower noise.
It had a little bit more noise.
It's worth more than 3 horsepower.
So the last time Bruce was here, this happened. Yeah, that happened. So we said stick around, because if it blows the bell again while you're here, you're like, you're done. We're getting rid of you. We're going to call your competitor. Yeah. We're going to call Take a Chance USPS. We'll try and get it there. So 200, 141. Let's just see a back-to-back runs. It's still hot as all. I mean, it made a little bit of power. I mean, it's 3 horsepower. So an intake would definitely help. Alright, so let's just do a quick sound effect. We've had good feedback from people just listening to cars driving by and doing, you know, a little bit of side road action right here. I don't like to drive cars any more than we have to. And I don't like to do any high-speed stuff. But it's good to make sure the car's good. It's good sound clip. We're pretty good on the side road here. And it's good for sound clips. Alright, so I don't know if George is going to do an easy drive or a fast drive or what. That sounds pretty good. Alright, so just remember the exhaust system is a Type R lower header, Type R mid pipe, and the Mugen Civic Si axle back. So listen to that supercharger scream. I'm sure this is going to be the run. You hear the supercharger just a little bit. Hear the supercharger that time. How's it feel?
Pretty good.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it drives great.
It's not loud, it's got a cool sound to it. You can definitely hear the supercharger.
Can you hear it out there?
A little bit.
I can't hear it at all.
I think a good intake and, you know, really wake it up. Bigger
It's
intake.
not even really the power, it's like what you feel and hear. You've got a supercharger out and you have no idea.
Yeah. That's sometimes the best, when it doesn't do anything funny or it's not obnoxious.
It drives like it did when it came in, it just is better.
Yeah, more power, more torque. Cool. Let's go ahead and it's already clean, but let's just go ahead and we're going to wax it. Make sure it's nice and pretty. Go over everything, double check all the fluids, and we can call him. It's getting kind of late, so we're going to go home. So this was a big part of my life back in 98, 99, 2000. These are all supercharger belts that we have trashed on this car. This is one that completely shredded, all because of most of this used crap. Now this is the factory Jackson bracket. He has the reproduction bracket. We did a little digging around. It's by a company called 1320. There are some companies reproducing bits and pieces. It's got cheap hardware, bolts break, the shear off. I mean, the pulleys look to be pretty good, but long story, we've had the supercharger on and off 3 times, so might have to change the policy on installing used superchargers. I've always shied away from it. Now I think I'm gonna run away from it. But yeah, belts, you can't really tell, but I burnt that finger bad on a pulley because I touched it and this belt stuck on there and it stuck to it and it got hot. Anyway, I'm going to clean all this up. This is the stuff we're not using. This is the stuff we're not using. We'll put it all back in his box, go over the car, make sure everything's happy. All right, so we're all cleaned and waxed. We got it sitting here so when the customer shows up, he's going to see the business end of it, which of course is the supercharger kit. So very clean, very OEM looking. 200 wheel horsepower. That's about 55 to 60 horsepower to the wheels over stock, which, considering we're basically running a stock manifold, stock airbox, and a stock kit, that's pretty good. And the fact that it rides nice and it's very OE feel. So this should be a really fun car to drive after owning it with, you know, about 145 wheel. So we'll talk to him. Possible future upgrades: LHT intercooler, ported S tube, larger throttle body, larger inlet to the throttle body, a little bit better flowing header. The exhaust will work just fine, but a better header, and yeah, maybe up the boost 11 pounds, something like that, 10, 11 pounds. It'll do 230, 240 on a B16. So wait for him to pick it up, but look how pretty that looks. All right, so after a short drive, what do you think?
The best of both worlds.
It is really?
I mean, it's the closest thing to stock, still reversible, very clean, sounds quiet, you can barely tell.
Drives completely normal, right?
And it feels amazing, no check engine light.
Yeah, that's always important, right?
Right, so I mean,
this is beautiful. People are gonna go crazy on this car. I don't want to tell them where you live. I don't want people hitting you up and hitting you on Instagram, but you want to give someone your Instagram?
Nah,
no, okay.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be upset that we're not keeping this thing stock.
Yeah, well, I mean,
at the end of the day, I mean, this is what my childhood dream was. So.
Exactly. That's what we are all shooting for, and it's, you know, that's why you work hard, is to get what you want. This is beautiful. Again, thank you so much. Hey, yep. I'm not gonna shake. This is the new shake.
Man. Thank you for everything, man.
I appreciate it so much.
I mean, we've been waiting over 6 months for this, so
it's worth the wait, though, right?
I'm ecstatic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. With the next one.
Absolutely.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. John.
Drive safe. Thank you so much. What's it say? What's it say?
It says, thanks, George. Really appreciate and enjoy watching you guys work on YouTube. This is the blue Civic Si that just left.
Fantastic. See, this is like this. This is gonna come out wrong. I'm gonna go. I was about to go, this is why we do this. That was gonna come out completely
There's no
wrong.
other reason why we're here.
There's no way. We're doing it for the free stuff.
If you don't give us things, we're gonna go home.
Look at the kind of free stuff that George gets.
I got a meat, a bar.
Somebody came by and gave him a random piece of meat and said,
good.
there you go, George.
I like that stuff. A little caffeine, some vitamins.
Yeah, little.
Someone did give me that.
Yeah, this is like George's free drawer. Free gloves.
Yep.
Well, you didn't get the glasses free. You had to buy those.
That wasn't free. But we're not going to talk about that.
No, don't talk about that.
No.
Hurry up! This video's going on forever. A Hyundai.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Make your own gift card.
Sweet. He actually said that too. He says, "I give you a make your own gift card." That's the best gift card that anybody could ever get.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
It's to me.
I have one too. I haven't opened mine, but now I know what it is, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You might not know what yours is.
Actually, Esther has one too. I might
Yeah.
not even tell Esther.
Yeah, let's not tell her. She doesn't watch the videos anyway.
She's coming in about half an hour. We both got one here, but Esther is on her way. She don't know this yet. So what we're going to do is a little bit of doctoring. And nobody
Pick that up.
ever know. I bet that was Esther right now. That's Esther. She's on her way. So what we're going to do is you're not even going to know I was in here. Look at this. This is like, never even know. She's probably got $100 in there. $100.
Nice.
This is just as good. It's the thought that counts. So what we're going to do is put that guy in there, and then we will tape this.
Got some
with
tape?
A little bit of clear tape.
Don't use yellow.
Well, you're not even going to see it.
You'll see the yellow.
No, it's not going to stand out. Look at that.
You put it on every one of them then.
Look, can't even tell.
Oh, he did it on the back.
Yeah. So what we'll do is make it look good.
A little bit on yours.
Look, it's just like,
Yeah, put some on mine.
yeah.
Mine's really good. Put it in the comments.
And we have a special guest. Anybody remember? What's your name again?
Yeah, I'm
Put the
Lisa.
put the glass on.
Yeah, if I put my glasses on, I should be Lisa, because,
It's Lisa.
yeah.
So the reason she's here, why are you here? Are you supposed to be working remotely?
I am working remotely. I wish I was working remotely because I just gave myself a haircut, and it's obvious.
We wasn't going to talk about that, but you brought it up.
Whatever.
No one else would say anything.
I usually do a good job. I do, but this time...
She does a really good job with the customers, with the orders, taking information, not so much with hair. So, okay, just wanted to do this because
Yeah.
we got, thank you, Blue Civic gave us these, and it was really nice. We all got,
I opened mine already, so I know what it is.
You do?
Yeah, I didn't know
Really?
we were doing it on camera, so I ripped it open.
good job, friend. Well, anyway, it's got one with Esther's name on it. It should say haircut specialist on the back.
Professional barber.
If it did, we'd cross it out.
You know what? It'll grow out. That's what I
It
keep
will.
telling
That's the good
myself.
thing about
And I'm
hair.
okay. I'm confident in my little pilgrim bangs. It's all right. I'm
Is that the
rocking
name
them.
for him now?
That's what
So,
I've always called them. Because, you know,
all right, well-
I had bangs when I was little. So.
Yeah.
Can I open it?
Bangs in England are things that you throw at the ground and they make a noise, and you do it on November the 5th.
Fringe.
Nice. Look at that. $100. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
That is awesome. What did you get, George?
Got $100.
Shut up. This is your handwriting on here.
No, it's not.
It's not my handwriting.
Brian handed it to me in
What-
person.
What
you
did
know
you
what,
get?
Brian? It's okay.
What did you get?
Got what you got.
That's really nice. Thank you so much.
This kind of
We're
reminds
like
me
the
of
guys that
something.
work. We're the guys that work on the cars. She don't even work here anymore. Just like undisclosed location.
You only
so what
get,
did you
you only
get?
get 1% for us and
I
an
get-
email.
You got $100.
I got 1%.
Yeah.
Oh, wow! Would you look at that?
This
Why would
totally
any-
reminds me
Why
of
would anybody
something.
do that? Why would anybody tape the envelope after the? Look at that. That's just.
Well, yours was taped.
all
Mine was taped.
All right. Well, thanks for viewing it. It's good to see Esther's being appreciated. She's getting some serious coin. I would say you could fix your hair with it, but I don't think that will. No. Do it.
Well, you more than you paid yourself to do it.
That's right.
So you
I
might do a
mean,
better job.
I'm ahead of the game.
That shows like.
Oh, I do actually get it.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
that's so sweet. I was okay with $1. I was all right. I
know
wasn't
she was.
offended.
See how genuine she is. Meanwhile, when I turned the camera off, she'd go red and stamp her feet.
I
Knock
would
the
not.
camera over.
Actually, now I have 101. So I.
Oh yeah, that
Oh.
actually is my money.
Oh, we
So
forgot
that's-
about that.
that's actually-